got there in the end. We're finally here. Thank you so much for joining us for a late tackle before Gameweek 22. A little bit different tonight because I am riding solo. That's right. Not only am I riding solo, I very nearly didn't even stream because it was just all a bit of a mess. Basically, Az set everything up and didn't press sync on Dropbox because he has to do that manually. So I was scrambling about for about an hour trying to get everything to work. But hero that he is, he left the pub and came and made sure he pressed the button on his computer at home, did a little walk with Yells, and managed to get it all sorted. So absolutely thrilled to actually be here. Already got some people in the chat. Sorry if you joined the chat earlier and I had to delete the stream and then bring it back again. But thank you so much for joining us now. We're going to do tonight as a bit of a Q&A session. I've got some questions from Twitter, and also you can just chuck in as many questions as you want for basically about 45 minutes. I've got all the tables we would normally use, and we can make it a bit more about the chat and about me trying to answer as many questions as possible. I'm so glad Az has not put my rank on the screen, because the less said about that, the better after my awful last 3 game weeks. But let's have a look and see who's in there. So Jared's in there, first time catching one live. Thank you so much for being with us, Jared. Good guy. FPL Pubcast evening. We're going to be, hopefully I'm going to be joining you on a stream soon, which would be quite nice. We've got Jossie Giants evening all. James W. Simply FPL says, yes, boys, 10k to 300k in 5 game weeks. Killing it. It does happen. Sometimes it's worse than that. Kev Max says, evening all. Johnny says, wow, I made it to a live one. Yeah, thank you. Friday night. It's a good time to do some streams. Jared says, Az is the real MVP. Exactly. Dan Lucas, evening, Andy. Heather says, didn't know there was a live tonight. Yeah, we're just doing a nice little late tackle, doing a Q&A and seeing how many questions we can answer in about 45 minutes. But like I said, I've got all the tables and everything I could need to possibly answer all your questions. YV, what happened to Mr. Southerns? He went on in. He's now running the whole thing, isn't he? He's running FPL, so good luck to him. And obviously, he's doing well already this season. There is a few little rumours he might even be in the chat tonight, so keep an eye out. FPL Pubcast is looking forward to it, mate. Yeah, it should be good. We've already got a few questions coming in, which is quite nice. So I'll try and get to those as much as possible. Ketan says, surprise video. Let's go. Martin, good evening. And the heroic doses. I quit FPL, but I'm still here for BlackBox. The psychology of it is infinitely interesting. I agree, and there's always plenty of that with me and Az on, because we've always got to make sure we carry on playing instead of giving up on this game. So let's have a look then. We've got a few questions already coming in, as I've said. Bench DCL or Wilson? I'm assuming that is, well, it's going to be Harry Wilson, isn't it? I actually quite like it. If I'm looking at the fixtures, Calvert-Lewin has got Fulham at home, hasn't he? So Leeds have got Fulham at home, whereas Wilson, obviously they've got each other, haven't they? Personally, I mean, Calvert-Lewin's obviously got penalties. Fulham away from home definitely aren't as good as Fulham at home. Fulham at home, I think, are quite good. Harry Wilson, though, my goodness, I've become a little bit of a Harry Wilson believer recently. Watching him play for that team, he's just miles above everybody else. And I think it's a tough one to say which one I would bench. I would want to play both of them, but obviously I don't know the rest of your team. So between the two of them, I probably think I'd favour the home game, and I'd probably favour DCL, especially on penalties as well. Like I said, Fulham away, not as good, so I'd probably go for DCL myself. Ash says, yo, Andy, let's go. Az, he's only gone and done it. Yes, Az is in the chat. You should be drinking, mate. Don't worry about me. I got you sorted. It's absolutely fine. Galinho says, many popular player choices going forward are rather cheap. Where would it be best to spend your budget going forward? Strong bench, premium midfielders. I think a lot of us are going to be investing in Bruno Fernandes moving forward. I think a lot of us potentially could end up keeping someone like Ekitike if they've still got him as well. So maybe people don't go down to Haaland and 2 cheap strikers. Maybe they go for Haaland plus a mid to premium striker as well. So Ekitike to Thiago kind of range, I would say. The other thing is, I think people will play with trying to have a few premiums in midfield. The problem is that Palmer's obviously not looking like he's going to be much of a asset moving forward because of the injuries. It looks like he should have had surgery in the summer. The other thing is whether we go big in defence, so we get Gabriel, we get Timber. Could be, I mean, Gahey's obviously just moved. He could be another cheap option as well. But I think that's probably where you'd spend the money, is going Bruno, probably Saka, and then maybe whether you go for that second premium or mid to premium striker as well. Heather says, do I roll and hold Foden or move Foden out for Bruno Fernandes this game week? I don't think you do it this game week. Genuinely, any City attackers I would 100% keep for this week. Against Manchester United, they've got a history of scoring quite a few against us at times. They also, United aren't that bad against City. And sometimes when we go into games and people say, yeah, it's definitely going to happen with, City are going to demolish United. Every now and again, they come up with a surprise result. But we also have like the history books of looking at those 6-3s where Haaland got a hat-trick, Foden got a hat-trick. So I don't think I'll be moving Foden this week. If you look at the fixtures for Manchester United, the next two are horrendous. And obviously it's Carrick. We don't really know what we're expecting there. He's probably got a bit of a free run at those two fixtures, to be honest. Man City at home, Arsenal away. You can't get much worse than that. But from 24 onwards, that's when I would do it. So keep Foden for 2 weeks, then sell to Bruno. Just makes an awful lot of sense. Good day, mate, from Melbourne, says Global Sports Cards, even, mate, or Melbourne, as Hibbo says. Boosters only. Do you feel to get a good rank this year, you need to spend so much more time than other years on this damn game? Maybe. I think the trouble is, what's actually happening is, as with all games, there always gets to a point where your level of effort doesn't coincide with how much you're getting out of it. And I think we used to kind of get to a good point of effort with this game and we were getting a lot out of it. I feel like the majority of people that play this game now can get really good advice and can get really good projections and really good chip strategies and everything that we used to kind of get ourselves, and they can get it really easily now. And I think it's made the game a hell of a lot harder. But it's good. We want the challenge. We don't just want to be, doing well every year without having to think about it. But every game evolves. DEFCON's made things harder as well, I think. It's actually narrowed the pool rather than making it bigger, which I think was their intention. So, yeah, I think it is harder to get a good rank. People are still getting good ranks, which is fantastic. But it's all down to variance every year anyway, isn't it? James Harding says, do I transfer Cunha or Semenyo out? And which of Enzo, Rodgers or Tavernier to bring in? So let's bring up the midfielders' last six, because I love looking at these tables, and obviously they've done a good job. I'll just make them a bit smaller because I can't actually see all of it there. So when you look at midfielders from the last six, I still love the fact Brooks is top. But Brooks, I think, is a doubt this week. But when we're looking at it, selling Cunha or was it? Oh, sorry, transfer Cunha or Semenyo out. Now, Cunha is 11th on this table. Semenyo is 27th. But I think you've got to factor in the fact that Cunha's got two of the hardest fixtures he's going to face. He's got Bruno Fernandes properly back. He's got Mbeumo, who's likely to start. Sesko there as well. I don't think he's going to be the main focal point of the attack like he was before in the last couple of weeks. Semenyo, though, I think he can do so much damage against Manchester United. I really do. And he's come in and obviously started incredibly well. He scored a couple of goals, which we want to watch. What we want to see. He's got Manchester United this week and then Wolves at home the week after. I don't think you sell Semenyo. I think if you've got Semenyo, that is an easy hold. I know he's 27th on this, but he has got... There's only one other player on this list in midfielders that beats him for goals, and that's Rodgers. Who doesn't beat him for goals, and that's Rodgers. So I definitely think you hold on to Semenyo if you've got him. Cunha, I think, is a easier sell. He's obviously not on penalties. He's not the main man for United. He could still do something, especially if he's playing off the left. City have a bit of a weakness down their right, so maybe that helps him. But I think Semenyo is an easy hold. Arvs, I'm selling Cunha and Paquetá. Do I buy Bruno Fernandes and Tavernier, or two of Enzo, Wilson, Tavernier? I have Palmer. Yeah, Palmer's such a hard hold now. I think some people wild-carded maybe a little bit too early, got on Palmer. Palmer, it looks like, I think it's just going to be a nightmare until he gets surgery. I don't think we're going to know when he's going to play. It's always going to be, is he going to play? Is he going to play maybe 45 to 60 minutes some weeks? And when you've got Enzo Fernandez sat there in third on this table, so he is 0.70 XGI non-penalty per 90 over the last six. If Palmer doesn't play, he's on penalties. With Chelsea's ridiculous run of fixtures as well. So Chelsea's fixtures: Brentford at home, Crystal Palace away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Leeds at home, Burnley away. I think you want him. And if there's any doubt of Palmer playing, you want Enzo Fernandez. So yeah, so that's probably the way I would go. Is that answering your question? I'm selling Cunha and Paquetá. Do I buy Bruno Fernandes and Tavernier? No, I think I'd go Enzo and Tavernier or Wilson, and then I'd buy Bruno Fernandes in 24 personally. Delia says, had to show my support, especially when Az is missing. Yeah, thank you very much for coming to support me. Lovely stuff. Jared, I honestly don't see it with Man United and people wanting to go to Bruno Fernandes. Don't know why. But thoughts on Sesko because of the lack of forward options compared to mids. Now, if we look at the forwards previous 6, Sesko is 4th now. 0.64 XGI per 90. He is beating the likes of Calvert-Lewin. He's beating the likes of, Voltemada, Raul Jimenez, who I've seen in a couple of teams. Obviously, Ekitike is top. He's a great own for this week. Probably only for 2 weeks, though. Don't think you want him past that. Watkins is in second with 0.82. Thiago with 0.72. So Sesko's not in bad company there, 0.64. Obviously, he's not got penalties. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist in his last 6 appearances, but those 2 goals were in his last game. So I think with Mbeumo, Cunha and Bruno behind him now, and with the fact that Carrick could be playing a 4-2-3-1, which is what we expect him to play, there's some good cover behind Bruno, so Bruno can play in the 10 and be a bit more creative. I like Sesko still, not as just because I'm a Man United fan. I do think he's all right. I just think for 7.2 million, Thiago's now 7.1. I just don't see it there with him personally. And I know you said you're not a massive fan of Bruno. I am. I really am. So I still think Bruno is absolutely ridiculous in terms of what he's doing this season. He's on penalties. I don't think... there's no doubt in my mind from 24 onwards I'm going to want him, because from 24 onwards for Manchester United, they've got Fulham at home, Spurs at home, West Ham away, Everton away. I'm more than happy to invest from then on. Shiva says, don't rate Chelsea defence at all. Cash, Senesi, double Arsenal defence seems to rotate well. Any other combination you can think of? Thank you. I'm on a wild card. I would definitely be on Senesi and Cash if I was on wild card. I think double Arsenal defence, it's completely up to you with double Arsenal defence. In terms of, if I bring up the defensive previous 6, so Gabriel is top with XGI. No, he's not top with XGI, sorry. He's top with FPL points per 90. Gabriel, I think, is obviously, an essential pick. You'd have to say that. It's whether you want double Arsenal defence. We talked about this on BlackBox the other day. Whether you want double Arsenal defence for the potential double game week in 26. That's the biggest thing, basically, is do you think against what would potentially be Brentford and Wolves away, whether you think double Arsenal defence is better than having, say, Gabriel, Rice and Saka, which, as said, was his favoured 3. Do you fancy having double defence instead of that? And obviously, I'm assuming you'd say it was Saka you get rid of instead of, you ditch Saka and get Timber instead. The one player you haven't mentioned there, which I think would be a really good player to invest in, would be Hall. I think Lewis Hall would be a really, really good shout moving forward. You've said you don't fancy Chelsea, but I actually think Chalobah is a really good shout, especially from 24 to 27. I think that looks great. You can never go wrong with Lacroix and Richards. Obviously, Richards is a lot cheaper, but their fixtures are second on the fixture ticker. You've mentioned Senesi already, so I think that's fine. Everton, obviously you got Tarkowski, but he's a little bit more expensive. And that's it really. I suppose Van Hecker's there too. So there's quite a few there, I think, that are good for DEFCON that you can invest in. But I think double Arsenal defence is just based on whether you want to have that double Arsenal defence for a potential double game week in 26. Because if you're investing in that now or you're in a wild card, you want to try and set that up for 26, personally, I think. And you're lucky because Arsenal are a team you want to invest in anyway. So pick that triple Arsenal and think to yourself, is that the triple up I would want in game week 26? Because there are a few discussions to be had about it. James, do you think Cunha might actually do all right in this fixture versus City? He could. He genuinely could. And like I said, playing, because it'll most likely be Sesko, Bruno behind him, and Mbeumo on the right, and Cunha on the left. But obviously they'll come in a bit. Dorgu will come up on that left wing. I think Cunha could do well because they've struggled from that side. I think if you look at the City defence, obviously Gahey has got the here we go from Romano, but he's not going to be playing. He's not going to be playing for Palace this week either. That team that team doesn't look strong at the back, if that makes sense. Looks like O'Reilly could play, could be Kushinov at the back. I think I think there's going to be goals. I think I've gone 3-1 City, and Cunha could obviously get the goal. But I think he could also be a very easy sell this week. Johnny says 4 City. A lot of people are going to have 4 City this week because they might have, well, not this week, but maybe moving forward. Some people could potentially have 5 City after this week because obviously if Gahey moves, they might have already had Semenyo. That means your next 2 moves have to be removing City players, which seems absolutely mental. I don't know many other times where that's happened. I think maybe with Liverpool at the beginning of the season with Isak, where they got up to 4, but not 5. Oh, I suppose with Kirkes it could have happened, couldn't it? Let's have a look. What other ones have we got? We've got loads of questions, guys. Thank you so much for bringing them in. Global Sports Cars. I've messaged FPL Harry to catch up since he's here in Melbourne. Is he? I had no idea he was in Melbourne. I bet he loves it there. James also says, do I transfer Semenyo in? I genuinely don't hate it. I think it's an all right move. I think, like I said, if you look at the midfielders last 6, Semenyo is 27th on here, but like I said, he's got 4 goals. He's got significantly more minutes than an awful lot of players on here, which I think doesn't help his XGI non-penalty per 90 compared to some of the others. But I think he's going to do wonders for City. I really do. I think he's been looking... Pep has been looking for that wide man, a bit like he lost Mahrez a little while ago now, and he's been missing that kind of a player. And I think Semenyo is that player. He's that goal scorer that can... He's wanted that other player that gets kind of 10 plus goals in a season. And obviously Semenyo's almost... Well, he's already there. I can't remember what he's got for the season now. Let's have a look. I hate the wind. All the content creators I watch are doing horrible. When will we see a creator or a channel that doesn't blindly play the 3 million template? No idea, mate. It's just how it happens sometimes. Sometimes you can just have a season where everything goes right. You could have held on to Thiago, had Callum Wilson, Harry Wilson, and all of a sudden things are going really, really well. Other times they just don't go so well. But always have a look to see how they're doing by the end of the season. Let's have a look. I'm trying to catch up with some of the questions now. Tangiru, hi Andy, who are your top defenders that aren't from Arsenal or Liverpool? So I'd probably say Lewis Hall. I think Lewis Hall is a really good shout moving forward. I think that Senesi, especially with the fixtures finally turning for Bournemouth, with him being a bit of a DEFCON beast as well. So Bournemouth, where are they? They're 3rd on the fixture ticker. They've got Brighton, Liverpool, Wolves, Aston Villa, Everton and West Ham in the next 6. He's so good for DEFCON. I've watched him 2 or 3 times this season, and he literally is. His middle name could be DEFCON with how he plays. It's just everything seems to come to him, and he just boots it long. So I think he's an easy one, and he has kind of cropped up with a few goals and assists as well. So I think Hall, Senesi, and Matty Cash would be quite nice owns, and a Chelsea asset, which would probably be Chalobah too. But that's quite a nice list for you. Delio, I don't understand why people would get Palmer, even if he is fit, which is not 100%. He is not in great form. The form doesn't worry me too much, but the fitness really does. I think for somebody that is 10 plus, you can't spend that much money on him. Yes, he's a penalty taker, but you just don't know when he's going to play. Like, we're already getting a bit annoyed with Saka because he missed that game, and obviously if he's ever playing 3 games in a week, he's going to miss one. Palmer, like, it just seems ridiculous to invest in him at the moment. And when you've got Enzo Fernandez, who's basically his understudy, I feel like with Palmer potentially missing minutes, Enzo is an even better buy. Jaskaran says, Gakpo or Wirtz or Szoboszlai for a 2-week punt will also be captaining that player this game week. I think they're all really interesting. I think Szoboszlai has got the penalty share, which I think has to be factored in. So Szoboszlai obviously having the penalty share there is really, really nice. When you look at the table here for midfielders last 6, I'm trying to think out of those ones who's the top. So Wirtz is 6th. So Wirtz is 6th for XGI non-penalty per 90 over the last 6, which puts him comfortably top of those 3. And I don't even think Szoboszlai or Gakpo are on this one. Gakpo is starting to get a little bit of a tiny bandwagon going into this week, and obviously it's because they've got Burnley at home. I personally don't think I would go down that route. I think if I was picking between the 3 this week, I think I'd probably go Szoboszlai. I think I would, only because I feel like after those 2 weeks, if I've got loads of injuries and I need to keep one of them, I think it would probably be him I want to keep. So I think that's probably the way I would go personally. By the way, please like the stream. We've got almost 250 people in the stream already, so please like it if you're liking what you're seeing. If you don't like what you're seeing, just like it anyway. That'd be really nice. Sora Deep says, have to sell Keane and O'Reilly. Who to buy apart from a Sunderland defender? Already have Gabriel and Timber. Yeah. So as I've said already, I don't think O'Reilly's not as much of a sell as Keane. Obviously, Keane's going to miss 2 games because he's missing 1 game in the Cup. So I think Keane is a definite sell. O'Reilly, I worry about O'Reilly. I own O'Reilly. I think with Aït-Nouri back, with Ake having played left back, O'Reilly played in the 6 midweek, which I think is really worrying because it feels like he's just trying to shoehorn him in places when he knows he's not really that. He's kind of been a bit annoyed about him recently, hasn't he? Especially leaving a lot of space behind him. So, yeah, I think O'Reilly could be a sell, but Keane's the most important one. But I've already said Hall, Cash, Senesi and Chalobah, probably my top 4 from outside of Arsenal. And obviously keep an eye on Gahey as well if he moves to, or when he moves to City. Heather, I've finally gone from 3.8 million to 1.7 million in 5 game weeks after being stuck in the 3 to 4 million bracket for like 12 weeks. Bruno G, Rice, Semenyo, Kelleher and Chow helping me out. That is absolutely fantastic going. And you think, Bruno G obviously took the penalty after Gordon went off. Rice got the 2 goals when Saka missed out. Semenyo's just kept on scoring. Kelleher got the penalty save and Chow got a 17-pointer followed by a -1. So it just goes to show how FPL goes, doesn't it? Keith Rowley, Bruno, best player in the game still. For value, I genuinely think he's fantastic. Right, let's have a look. Dryer Lint says, will Timber start both in a double? I think, at the moment, obviously, he's most likely playing left back and Ben White playing right back because Calafiori's still out. I think he is much more of a risk than Gabriel and Saliba. You don't want to go Saliba anyway. So, but then Saka's also a doubt. So if you were to say Gabriel and Rice were the 2 most important players to own for a double, who is the third one? I don't think Saka's nailed on to play both. I genuinely don't. And I don't think Timber would be either. But which one do you think would probably be more nailed on? Probably Timber, but Saka's maybe got the bigger ceiling. So it's a trade-off as to what you want out of those 2. I think Timber probably would, personally. I think it'd be hard going for him not to start both, but he doesn't have as big a ceiling as Saka, who does have some penalty share still. Araviz says, thanks for the advice. Enzo in for Cunha it is, but who to buy of Wilson or Tavernier? I can easily get Bruno Fernandes for Foden in 24. I'm leaning Wilson. So Wilson or Tavernier. We got the midfielders last 6 up here. Tavernier is 42nd. Harry Wilson is 5th in terms of XGI non-penalty per 90. Harry Wilson 0.62, Tavernier 0.28. There is some suggestion Tavernier will be on penalties. I think I said to Az on Wednesday, I personally don't think it's 100% Tavernier. I think Krupi Jr. could genuinely have some stake in penalties, mainly because of what we saw earlier on in the season when he picked up the ball. And I think Tavernier took it off him and people weren't very happy that he did. So I feel like Krupi Jr. could be up there in terms of penalties as well. But I think Harry Wilson's he's having one of those seasons where everything he's touching is turning to gold. He's in one of those purple patches. When he's the kind of player when Harry Wilson is in a purple patch, you just have to listen to it. And obviously he could get injured in a couple of weeks, but 3 goals, 3 assists in his last 6. 0.62 XGI non-penalty per 90. He's beaten Rodgers for that comfortably. I think Wilson is a very, very good buy, even now. But if we look at the fixtures as well, Bournemouth are 3rd on the fixture ticker. Fulham are 15th on the fixture ticker, or 14th, sorry, on the fixture ticker. It's which way you want to go there, and I would use a planner and see which one you would play at different times, personally. I think that's what I would do, because Tavernier, I feel like you'd look at most weeks and go, do I really want to play him? Whereas Harry Wilson, I feel like you could plug in a few more weeks. Let's have a look. Feel bad for Palace, I saw from somebody there. Yeah, I feel a bit bad for Palace. Reminds me an awful lot of Leicester. when Leicester won the league, and then players just slowly started going like Kante and Mahrez. It feels a little bit like that. Johnny says, Glasner talked about himself today. Any mention of Munos? Just that he's close to being back. I don't think he's going to be starting this week. I mean, Klein's out as well, I think, this week. But yeah, I think that he's close to being back, which would be great considering their fixtures are pretty good. So if we could get him in and we know that he's definitely fit for game week 26, they've got Burnley and Wolves at home. Not a bad entry point, although in 26, that's when Arsenal could double. So maybe we don't want to be using that then. Matt Kent UK, good evening, Mr. North. Evening, Matt, saying, I'm wildcarding this week. What goalkeeper combo would you go for? I'm currently on Verbruggen and Kelleher. Yeah, don't hate that at all. Brighton and Brentford. The only thing I say about Kelleher, I'm assuming they rotate nicely. They don't rotate that well with Brighton. I don't think they rotate overly well. When you're looking at Brentford and Brighton, Brentford's fixtures, they're bottom of the fixture ticker for the next 6. Brighton do have some nice home games in Bournemouth and Everton in the next 3, but then they've got some rough away games as well. So I'm not overly sure I'd be that keen on those. I think it's a shame because Sanchez would have been the one, but he was awful midweek. But Sanchez from obviously game week 24 onwards is very, very nice. I'm trying to think who else. Petrovic, I think, is a no-go. Pickford could be all right. Hardly anybody ever goes Pickford, and he always picks up points. Martinez is a no-go because obviously he's a doubt this week anyway, so it could be Bizot. Yeah, I think I'd still just go Roofs, personally. I think for Sunderland. I think any home game for Sunderland, and they've got 4 in the next 6, I think I'd be happy plugging them in every week. So yeah, I think I'd probably still go Roofs. Matthew Perry, evening mate, says, I'm thinking of selling Bowen after the Spurs game. Would you bite the bullet and go back to Thiago, or go cheaper on a Mane and Krupi, and invest more in defence and midfield? I don't think now's the time to buy Thiago. Like, they're bottom of the fixture ticker. Got Chelsea, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Arsenal in the next 5. They do have Forest at home in 23, which would be quite nice, but I don't think I'd be investing now, personally. I think... I mean, I love Krupi Jr. I've said it quite a few times. I think Krupi Jr. is great. If we look at forwards previous 6, he's probably not even on here, is he? Krupi, because he just kind of comes on has the odd moments. But Mane's in 20th. I think Mane's an okay shout for 4.5 million. But like you said, you'd want to then reinvest the money in midfielders and in defence. I think with the wild card still in your back pocket, I think it's not too bad going Haaland and 2 cheap strikers, because you can always fix it by 30 odd if you really need to. So yeah, I probably would. I'd probably go Haaland, Mane and Krupi, personally. I wouldn't go anywhere near Gu. Delia says, Andy, have you discussed about any captain picks this week? Maybe more of a differential. Well, let's have a look, because I do have the captains. I do. Look at this. So I've got the captains up here. Ekitike comes out top of our little projections here in terms of what he can do this week. He's projected to get 7.65 points. And his XGI per 90 of 0.85 this week. He's obviously got Burnley at home. I think having played 30 midweek, having came on and got a goal and assist as well, I think is a very, very good shout. Literally the only thing that's rubbish about him is no penalties. Whereas, Haaland does have penalties, and it's just the fact I know what Haaland could do against Manchester United. I can understand why people are going Ekitike, and I think on paper, you'd probably say he's the one that you look at and think, gosh, he could do some absolute damage against Burnley. But who's to say that game isn't just going to be like a 1-0 Liverpool win or a 2-1 Liverpool win or something silly like that? So I still think I'm going to be on Haaland. But if you're looking at differentials, I think going anywhere else for Liverpool could be quite interesting. Going Szoboszlai or Wirtz. If you think Szoboszlai obviously has the penalties, I think that's not too bad. Saka or Rice against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest are obviously not in the greatest of form at the moment. I do think it's between Haaland and Ekitike. And I think obviously that's obvious. I'd love to know in the chat if you are going for Ekitike. Let me know how many of you are going for Ekitike. Maybe I can start a little poll. Look. Start a poll. Who to captain? And then Ekitike. or Haaland? There we go. Start poll. Should be in there now. You can have a look to see what you think. Right, let's have a look. I'm trying to go up and see as many points as possible. MDCDGE says, is this the right entry point for Saka? Think it could be his week. It could. He's on our list here in terms of captaincy potential. 6.75 is fifth on this list in terms of who to captain this week. He's got Nottingham Forest away. In terms of Arsenal, we were discussing him quite a lot on Wednesday, whether he is in the top 3 assets for Arsenal at the moment. And I was making the case that I don't know whether he is. I do think it's a good entry point for Arsenal assets, especially considering the fact that in 26 they could double. But they've got Nottingham Forest away, Man United at home, Leeds away, Sunderland at home. I think that's lovely. I think that's absolutely fine. It's just whether you trust in Saka. I think if you looked at the season as a whole as it's gone so far and how you think it's going to go, I think Rice is going to continue to be a better asset and a better value asset than Saka. But if you look at what Saka is capable of, is there a chance for him to improve on what he's done so far? 100%. Has he got some pen share? Yes, but I think Gyökeres is going to take most of them. So it is a tough one. I don't think Saka is 100% in my top 3 for that double game week. And leading up to it, I think Rice is a much better own. So, yeah. I think I'm all over the place with these questions. Let's have a look. Levy, City have a good chance of making a good push for the title after signing Semenyo and Gahey. Absolutely massive signings. They really are. Like, imagine being a manager where you can just say to your owner, I'm a little bit short in January. Do you mind getting me some players? And they sign Semenyo and Gahey. Gahey is genuinely one of the best centre-backs in the league this year. Could be an argument for the best centre-back in the league this year. Such a good passer of the ball as well. And obviously, he's in the first choice, England lineup for the World Cup. And I just look at him and think that's such a good signing. Like Liverpool fans and Liverpool will be absolutely gutted they didn't get him in the summer. Linden says, I briefly had Brooks earlier in the season. Yeah, like I said, he's absolutely killing it in terms of the XGI non-penalty per 90 in the last 6, 1.24. You just wouldn't get him, would you? You got Tavernier there, obviously, and you wouldn't go anywhere near Brooks, I don't think. He's not got that killer instinct in front of goal. The minutes are always going to be a little bit shy. Look, he's 289 minutes in the last 6. So I think it's a tough one. And he's even a doubt this week anyway. Let's have a look. By the way, looking at the poll, most people are going Haaland. 80% with 46 votes. So yeah, most people are going Haaland, but there are a few. Mick D, do I do Cunha to Saka? I think I'd rather go for an Enzo or a Semenyo or something like that this week instead, personally. People are going Rodgers as well, obviously. I've already got Rodgers, but I don't hate that move. And he also says, why no Saliba? He's going up tonight. He doesn't get the DEFCON. He doesn't have the attacking output of Timber or Gabriel. Gabriel's the own, obviously, but yeah, that's why Saliba's not picked by many. Tim, this is my biggest benching headache yet this season. Do I bench Foden, Gordon, Wilson, Watkins, or Thiago? Oh my God. You don't bench Foden against Manchester United. Newcastle have got Wolves away, haven't they? Gordon's an issue because he keeps going off 60-70. No matter what, he always goes off 60-70, and he hasn't done anything recently, but you don't really want to bench him against Wolves. Wilson's got Leeds away, not the nicest. Watkins, who have Villa got? They've got a nice fixture. Is it Everton? Yeah, they got Everton at home, so I wouldn't bench Watkins. And Thiago, Brentford, they got Chelsea away, haven't they? On paper, Thiago, but you don't bench a penalty taker. I think it'll probably be Wilson, personally. Out of all of those, Gordon and Thiago have penalties, and they've got nicer fixtures. Foden, you're not going to bench. Watkins, yeah, so it's probably Wilson, but I don't enjoy doing it. Great Bongo, who would you sub from Watkins, Haaland, Thiago? I love these spellings, by the way. Watkins, Haaland, Thiago, Rodgers, Tavernier, Saka, Enzo, Bruno. Just activated my wild card. Tavernier. I guess Tavernier out of all of those. YV says, I need KDH back fit. Yeah, that would be really nice, actually. Eddie Casey, hi there. I'm on my wild card. Who to get? Got Munos, he's still injured. I got Gabriel, Timber, Mukiele, Chalobah. I've said it before. I think Hall would be really good to get in there. Tom Roberts, even in Andy, get this, 90k down to 400k over the last 3 weeks. No Thiago. Mate, it happens. Genuinely, the worst 3 weeks I've ever had these last 3 weeks. 600k down to 1.2 million. I don't remember a time I've ever had that big of a drop, let alone 3 in a row. Delia, I would not recommend Saka. As much as I love him, he's not a great FPL asset this year. Locksins, 1 free transfer. Cunha to Bruno or to Enzo, or just roll and keep him until game week 24. Bench is basically dead. Goodmanson, King and Gu. Oof. I mean, Goodmanson's not too bad. Cunha to Bruno or to Enzo. I've said it before. I think I'd go to Enzo first and go to Bruno from 24 onwards. Eddie Casey, hi Andy. Who to have in goal? I'm wildcarding. I've got Roofs and Dubravka or Henderson and Dubravka. I think I'd still go Roofs personally. The only thing, if you're on wildcard, you've got to try and be picking goalkeepers that you think. I mean, Dubravka obviously plays, doesn't he? But I don't hate the idea of having, say, a Verbruggen and a Kelleher, because they're both going to be potentially playing in what could be doubles later on, and it's a move you don't have to make. But then Dubravka could still do that, couldn't he? YV, can we see the fixture ticker, please? Ooh, good question. I don't know whether we've got one on here, actually. Got the hop on, hop off, but I think that's from a while ago. So the short answer is no. Jared says, when are you considering playing the wild card and other chips? Now, I haven't massively thought about it, but the only thing I will say is there will be a template that people will go for. So I'm just going to try and find where I was looking for it, because I was talking about it with someone earlier. So most likely is that I would wildcard in 32. You want a bench boost almost straight away after that, so most likely in 33. Triple captain you could do in 26 with Arsenal, but I think triple captain most likely because City could have a nice double in 36, so I feel like triple captain in 36 could be good, and then free hit in one of the blanks most likely in 34. That's probably what we're looking at as the most template way to use your chips. And to be honest, with how my chips went earlier on in the season, I think I'm probably going to stick to being quite template for these. 85 votes, by the way, 78% went for Haaland, so I'm just ending the poll there. I might do another poll in a minute. Who else have we got here? Oh, we got so many questions. Thanks so much. Keith Rowley says, Thiago is a sell. Can't believe the amount of Ekitike to Thiago. Very puzzling. I would not be able to handle it if I did Thiago to Ekitike. Thiago then got 5 in 2. To then go from Ekitike to Thiago, because you know what's going to happen. Ekitike will get 5 and 2, so fingers crossed he does. Jared says, I think I'm on wildcard 24, triple captain 26, bench boost 33, and free hit 34. Interesting. I think it's too early to wildcard. I really do. Full of Ham says, evening, Mukiele, Anderson, or sell Dorgu for Chalobah and start him. Mukiele or Anderson? Well, Fulham, we said is away to Leeds. I like Mukiele this week. I'm playing him. Who is it? They got Crystal Palace. Yeah, I've gone for 2-0 win for Sunderland. You never know. Mukiele might get something. So I play Mukiele. Ash says, like, folks, support Andy and Az. Yes, please. We've got over 300 people in the chat now. Delia says, well said, Ash. Like everyone. Andy is doing a fab job holding the fort. Thank you very much. I've already lasted longer than I thought I would. I've said that before. Tayip says, going Saka to Bruno soon so I can get Timber back as well. Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? That is the one. It's whether it's, lose Saka to get Timber. I think I've got Raya, and I don't think I'm going to be moving Raya before 26. Got too many other people I want to do. ADN says, hi Andy, planning on owning Rodgers and Enzo by game week 24. If you had to buy one this week as a Cunha replacement, who would you favour? Leaning Rodgers for the guaranteed minutes. Funnily enough, I'd be leaning Enzo personally. I think with Aston Villa, yes, they got Everton at home, but then it's Newcastle away, which I think is quite tricky. Whereas if you look at Chelsea, they've got Brentford at home this week, then Crystal Palace away. And then it's from 24 onwards that obviously you want to keep them. I think I'd personally favour Enzo because there's some penalty share there, and because when you're looking at if there's loads of injuries and things, who you want to keep, if you can't get to the other person, I think you'd want to keep Enzo. M7 says, Gallagher, if he plays at the 10 for Spurs, is so good. He could be good for DEFCON. I think Tom Hadley, who's great for DEFCON, worked it out that he would have got it in maybe half the games he played when he was last in the league. I think he's 5.5 million, isn't he? I don't think I'd be going there personally. I think he's easily just a wait and see. Ash says, Erling blank again and we are so over. Yeah, I know. Let's have a look. Hey, Andy, hope you're good, mate, says Trophy. Evening, Mo. Evening. And loads of people are saying good evening, Mo. Tinjar says, how do you rank Enzo, Rodgers, Rice, Wilson, Tavernier? Oh, they're all pretty good, aren't they? I think, for me personally, it depends what you're looking at it. If you're looking at it in terms of the next 6 weeks, and if we're thinking that Arsenal could get that double, I think I put Rice top, but not necessarily for how well they're going to do this particular week. But Rice is somebody I would want moving forward over the next 6 weeks. Then I think it would be Enzo Fernandez, then it would be Rodgers, then it would be Wilson, and then Tavernier, I think. That's how I would rank them. Levy says, Semenyo to Rodgers this week, or do I hold for Wolves? I would keep Semenyo, 100%. FPL hippie, all groovy. Linen, sounds like Gahey to City is done. Yeah, it does very much sound like that. Brownlee says, Andy, I've done Cunha to Enzo and O'Reilly to Gabriel for free. Give me some confirmation bias, please. Yeah, absolutely fine. Like those moves. I think they're really, really good moves. Mainly because I'm bringing in Enzo and Gabriel this week for Cunha, but for Keane instead of O'Reilly. Trophy. How delighted are you with AFCON? He says he's really enjoying it. Husan, hey Andy, deal with Cunha or Keane first. Have another play and bench option to cover Keane. Personally, I think if you've got somebody that can come in to cover Keane, depending on who it is, I'd probably just do that and then get rid of Cunha for someone, some of these high-flying midfielders. Yes, defenders can obviously be good, but trying to pick the right one is tough, especially if it's just 1 week. Whereas Cunha to an Enzo, a Rodgers, a Semenyo, or someone like that, I think could reap benefits. Joseph says, loads and loads lumping on Tavernier. I might be wrong, but not for me. It's not for me either, but people I think are doing it because of the penalties or the potential of penalties. He's also not a bad option. He's not too bad. And shout out to my mate James as well, because his son, every time he scores in football at the moment, does the golf swing, because that's what Tavernier does. Semenyo was his favourite player, but obviously that's had to change. Brownerama says, wildcard in 21, 5 City, and set and forget the rest. Palmer looks punty now, though. 5 City means you're basically not making any moves unless you're getting rid of those City over the next couple of weeks, so that should be interesting. But if you've got Foden, Cherky, Haaland, and you've added Semenyo and Gahey, they're pretty nailed on as far as City assets go. YV Spurs are so bad for FPL this season. Yeah, they really are. 3 Dog. I do slightly envy those zombie teams who have 5 City players for the next 2. Yeah, I know. Jared, just seen last 6 game weeks. Sesko's second most shots and third most big chances of all strikers. Yes, he is. He's actually, like I said, when I brought it up again, he's doing all right. He's doing all right in the stats. The only thing I will say is, though, as soon as you get past kind of Haaland's in 7th, there aren't really any options. Like, even Brobby from Sunderland's 14th, and he's ahead of Mateta. So, yeah, it's not the greatest. Gyökeres in 19th for stats. Eddie Casey, hey Andy, what do you think of wildcard? 1.7 to spend. Oh my goodness, there's a whole load of people there. I can't look at it like that. I'd have to look at it later. Sorry. M7 saying remove Cunha, he may not start anyways. I'm pretty sure he'll start, but we are the early kickoffs. You never know, we might get some news. Not that we really get much anymore. And Jamie Clark can't decide between Tavernier and Enzo for Cunha. I personally think Enzo. I don't think it's much of a decision there. I did have 1 or 2 from Twitter that I thought I'd bring up quickly, by the way, because I did put it out there saying if people couldn't make it, I will try and answer a few. This first one is from, oh bless him, he looks like he's trying to be an FPL manager, but maybe not so much a good one. FPL BlackBox as says, how does it feel to have a 100-point lead cut to 30 points? Feels absolutely fine. Don't have an issue with it. It's absolutely fine. FPL at work. If the World Cup started tomorrow, who would be your starting England 11? I think most of it kind of picks itself, to be perfectly honest. I think you'd obviously have Pickford in goal. You'd then have Gahey and Konsa centre-backs. Obviously, Maguire could come in if you need him. I think you'd have Reece James right back and you'd have Lewis Hall left back. And then you'd have, Rice, Anderson. You'd have Saka, Gordon, I'm guessing, on the left. And then Kane up top. It's that number 10 role, isn't it? It's the role just behind Kane, whether it's Bellingham or Rodgers. I think he'll go with Rodgers. And I'm not sure whether Bellingham will completely convince him to start him, but imagine being able to bring Bellingham on. I think that's great. But I think he'll start with Rodgers personally. And Anish says of Anderson, O'Reilly, and Krupi, which two would you start? I would start Anderson, Elliot Anderson and Krupi personally. Tangeroo says, I'm in the market for a cheap keeper as doing Raya out for Rice. Not convinced by Sanchez. Any others you like? Currently thinking Roos. Yeah, that's who I would go for. And Jossie's Giant, Sky Sports just announced Mateta open to a new project this month. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he goes. There's not many. I don't think United are going for him with Sesko there, but it'd be interesting to see where he goes. I think he'd fit in at Arsenal, but I don't think they're going to do that with Gyökeres there. Lovely. Right, thank you so much for all those people that joined us this evening. I know it's quite a quick one, just 50 minutes, but it's a nice little way to get going, isn't it? I'll go back to the home screen now. Won't be a regular thing, just being me, but as ditched me at the last minute and I said, you know what, I'll still do it and I'll still go by myself and we'll see how we get on. So I hope you enjoyed it. I think we peaked at just under 350, but hopefully I answered as many questions as possible in the 45 minutes. And you never know, maybe it happens again at some point. Let me know if you liked it. Maybe it's something I'll do at different points as we move forward. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for supporting me and being so kind in the chat as well, because I'm sure it was boring just listening to me for 45 minutes. But we will see you again next week for Black Box on Wednesday with me and Az. And also you can catch me obviously on Scoutcast on Tuesday too. So thank you so much and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.